Evil Planet.
What would they call the Statue of Liberty in Texas? They would call it something else. Statue of Liberal Tears, and it's just a fucking
the Trail of Liberal Tears.
It's this big red from that one video. I'm reading fuckface, and she's just crying and screaming. They replaced the Statue of Liberty with that one fucking lib who was like, no, at Trump's inauguration.
Dude, I'm surprised that like Big Red hasn't like cashed out or cashed in. Like come back years later and said like, yeah, this is my side of the story. I was having a bad day. I was arguing with these scum fucks. You caught me out of context.
I doubt that she regrets that. Also, that was like 15 years ago or something.
Dude, think about it though.
That was a lifetime ago.
Yeah, but like even to this day, there are still people posting her picture.
Yeah, but like
her picture like in thumbnails and posting her picture in like shitty Facebook memes.
Here's the thing though. If you were to actually go out onto the street, like on any average day and just ask people like, do you know who Big Red is? They'd be like, who? What the fuck are you talking? Like what? Clifford the dog? What?
You talking about the gum?
You talking about the gum? Yeah. People would be like struggling in their minds to come up with any idea of like what the fuck you're even talking about. And if you show people that picture, they might have seen it before on the internet in a meme, but like it doesn't mean anything to them. And I think that's the thing, you know, there's Big Red, there's the screaming lib who was there when they announced that Trump won or whatever. And there's like I don't know if that was a man or a woman, I don't know. But there's like a couple of other people. You know the white woman with like the glasses. She's got like dark brown hair. She looks kind of like Karen-ish, but she also looks like kind of like a bug. And she's making this like leering like face at somebody. That's another one they use a lot. That's from like 15 years ago. And there's like a couple other ones too. There's one that's like some, I don't know, pasty white nerdy looking guy who's like freaking out. I think there's like a video of him saying like, "You're fucking white male. You're fucking white male," and he just freaks out. There's like maybe a half dozen examples of those kinds of like basically like avatars of everything that conservatives think that liberals are like, you know, just these screeching insufferable people who are gonna be like, actually I just heard that you use this word, and they're just gonna freak out and just be annoying as fuck.
Yeah, not every liberal or lefty is the average Redditor.
Most people are just generally not like that on either side. That's one of the things with today's politics that, you know, a lot of people out there really don't understand. Like they have these conceptions of, like Twitter is a great example. Even years ago before Musk bought it, you looked at how many people were actually using Twitter. Like, you know, people would say, you know, for years, oh, Twitter got mad about this, whatever. Like it's such an inconsequentially small number of people overall that most people like just don't give a fuck. And, you know, circling back to like my point here is just like so much of this stuff is so very online that when you're, you know, very online, which I think that we would both probably admit that we are, you know,
yeah,
it seems like this stuff is more ubiquitous and more of like something that's culturally like, oh yeah, no shit, like everybody's heard about that or everybody's seen that.
Yeah,
you almost think more like that as a default because you're in those circles.
Yeah, I'm not a huge normie, so I know about this niche internet thing that happened like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, actually 8 years ago, technically.
It's so weird, even just thinking back to 10 years ago.
Yeah.
The rise of somebody like Jordan Peterson, you know?
No, I remember vividly watching the presidential election unfold, and I was like in shock and awe that Donald Trump won. I didn't think he would make it that far.
Me neither.
I just thought he was like a joke candidate because like every single person on the Republican ticket was just god fucking awful. Like the best that they had to offer us was another Bush. I can't even remember his first name. Jeb. Fucking dumb name.
On the Republican side, you can choose to continue the Bush dynasty. On the Democrat side, you can choose to continue the Clinton dynasty. Like, it was just such a bullshit choice, you know? People like Trump really were created out of that system. That's what is so frustrating, especially when you're talking to people who weren't really plugged into this shit prior to Trump descending the golden elevator in Trump Tower or wherever the fuck it was. What's particularly frustrating is people who don't have a conception of politics, particularly American politics, outside of like Trumpism. And Trump definitely changed things over the last 10 years, but there's going to be a point where he's, in the future, where he eventually passes away of natural causes or whatever the fuck ends up happening. And maybe Trumpism without Trump continues, maybe fucking Barron or Don Jr. or whoever the fuck, God forbid, continues his legacy and his policies. Like, what's going to happen? Eventually, it's going to fade away. It can't go on forever.
I don't think Eric or Don Jr. have the sauce that his dad had.
No, definitely not.
Maybe Barron does.
Yeah, but like he's so fucking young that we just don't know.
Yeah, I feel like he has like better political instinct than his two brothers.
Well, because the vibes are there. I'll say that.
Yeah, because like I feel like Barron understands like younger voters way better than his older brothers. Like getting.
How do you know that though? Like he's younger, yeah, but like we don't know anything about him. We just heard his voice for the first time like a couple weeks ago.
I guarantee he's the one who told him to like get Aiden Ross to stream with him. Yeah,
he is. That is actually true. Like you're right there, and whatever help that or however much that helped Trump, it probably did on some level with some younger voters. There are people out there who are like, "Oh, LeBron endorsed Kamala. I'm voting for Kamala now." People did that with fucking Aiden Ross, like a bunch of dumb fucking chuds. Younger guys.
Yeah, but the thing about like Aiden though is a lot of his viewers are like really young. It's kind of like Sneeko's viewers. Like Sneeko's, like the average Sneeko viewer is like 12. I remember like when Sneeko was in the mall and some random kid just came up to him and was like, "Sneeko, I'm subscribed. I hate women. I hate gays too."
The kid was basically like, "Fuck gay people. Fuck trans people.
Fuck the women."
Yeah, fuck women. We hate women. Just kind of like mindlessly repeating things he'd heard these streamers say. Yeah.
Yeah, that in like a year or two, that kid's gonna become a groiper.
That kid has already been a groiper for like a year and a half. He low-key runs one of those like groiper accounts that's like Twitch groiper, and he just like gets mad about girls on Twitch, like
it's crazy
for money or whatever.
The last time we left off, Nick Fuentes had pepper sprayed a woman, like an elderly woman, a 57-year-old woman, and pushed her down the stairs.
We're gonna get into the articles after we talk about this here, but we might as well. We might pull an article in a second to check some facts, but yeah, we can follow up on that because there's been developments since then.
Yeah. There was body cam footage that was released where he was talking to the police, and he asked the police officer, "Do you have a business card? You can call like I guess you could call 911 or like call the police department, like get their badge number, like you know what I mean?"
Yeah, you just say, "What's your badge number? What's your name and badge number?" Usually.
Yeah,
I mean, shit. That's what I was taught to say when I was a fucking kid. If I was ever caught like smoking weed by a cop or they ever gave me shit, just start asking for like their name and badge number and shit like that.
Oh, you gotta.
Because a lot of times they're like, "Whoops." It'll actually make some of them back off.
That's funny. It's like garlic with a vampire, or like just showing like a vampire, like the cross.
Well, dude, not reliable, but when you're a kid and you start saying that to a cop, they're like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah, they don't want the heat. It's not worth their time.
Well, you're a kid. You have the bonus of like in other people's eyes, if the cop fucks with you, unless it's some serious shit, most people are going to be like, it's a fucking kid. Who cares? Like one thing that cops have to do if they actually like process people and actually, deal with something outside of just fucking with somebody and then being like, "All right, scram," is paperwork. And they don't want to have to do that shit.
Yeah, and probably it's probably not like the end of the month either. They don't have to meet their quota yet. They just want to get off shift.
Yeah, another thing too is I'm Canadian, you're American. Canadian cops are still pretty bad, but American cops are much worse. Much worse. But yeah, not only that with the Fuentes thing. Somebody came to his house with like weapons and tried to kill him, apparently.
Yeah. It was I posted that Reddit. I don't remember specifically what the subreddit was, but I think it was r/public freakout or something. But Nick had Ring doorbell footage, and you could see the guy pull the pistol out, ring the doorbell, and just wait. And Nick didn't answer the door because he's a recluse. So he went to like the neighbor's house. He like killed their dogs or something.
What the fuck? I didn't hear about that last part. Yeah.
Nah, dude. Nick is extraordinarily lucky.
Yeah, I'd heard this individual brought like a crossbow too, which kind of signals to me like you brought a gun and a crossbow to kill one guy. Just seems very deranged. I don't know. That was so interesting. But we also got the mugshot of Nick Fuentes, which I'll put up here. We don't usually put up visuals besides the visualizer for the podcast, but I'll show it because it's pretty funny. Sorry, you were going to add something else as well?
Oh, I was just going to say it's kind of ironic because Nick idolizes Elliot Rodger, and him dying in a shooting would just be, I don't know, just be kind of poetic. Not that I want that to happen to him. You know, I'd rather see him go to jail for what he did to that elderly woman.
For legal reasons, Evil Planet does not condone violence towards any individuals named Nick Fuentes. But yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, fuck him. One thing I will add, though, that was very funny was when I saw a little bit of the body cam footage of when Nick was, talking to the cops. And he's like, I'm kind of a big deal on the internet, which made me laugh so hard. He went the King Cobra and Jared Genesis route and told the cops, like, I'm kind of a big deal on the internet. I'm kind of what you might call an internet celebrity.
He did tell the cops that he called them a few times about a suspicious car that was parked outside of his house. I don't know if that's actually true. That'll probably, if he does go to court, that'll probably come up. But I think other people tried to knock on his door too. But he didn't step outside to knock them down his stairs and pepper spray them. I think he was waiting for like an elderly woman to walk up his stairs so he could bully them.
Yeah, you know what? You raise a good point there. This guy who apparently came to do harm to Nick, although I don't think Nick could have known that at the time. He would have been right in assuming that at the time, I guess. But what him releasing the Ring doorbell footage proves is that he at least at the time had a Ring doorbell to get the footage from. Now maybe he got it in the interim between his incident with that woman and this person who tried to kill him, but I'm gonna go with the assumption that he's probably had that Ring doorbell the entire time. Now I could be wrong, and this is an assumption, I will say that, but I think he had that Ring doorbell the whole time, and I think you're probably right. He probably went out and fucking pepper sprayed that woman because he's like, oh, some fucking femoid, you deal with her quick. Just pepper sprayed her. But then when somebody showed up, admittedly, like the woman showed up in the middle of the day, maybe that gave him more confidence. And the person who showed up to kill him came at night and had like a fucking motorcycle helmet on. So my guess is he probably looked at the Ring doorbell and was like, what the fuck? And that's why he called the cops. Because he's like, this can't be good.
I just don't think that Nick would ever answer the door if it was like a large man.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you were saying that also, like, it's a guy in a helmet and it's at nighttime, I just want to say, like...
I think that definitely added to it,
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, what's that movie, The Purge?
I don't fucking know. I've only seen clips of that fucking movie. I heard it was a piece of shit.
No, those movies are pretty decent.
Oh. My apologies, then. Maybe I'll have to check them out. I didn't know the Ring movies were cinematic masterpieces.
The Ring? Well, the Ring movie.
We're talking about Ring doorbells. That's The Purge. I'm getting my things crossed up. I did smoke a fat bowl right
7 days
recording. So
you're gonna go on a date with a femboy in 7 days. Cat boy, I mean
a femboy.
Yeah,
a little Freudian slip there.
I was just thinking about DDoS attacks. Okay.
What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
That article I sent, I think it was here. Yeah, it's in News and Politics. It was Gay Femboy 0-day router attacks ongoing, what you need to know. Yeah, I think it's a hacker group called Gay Femboy. I think I just kind of glanced the article because it was funny.
One thing we have to give is kind of like an update to. This article here is kind of dog shit. So
Matt Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old in a state where the age of consent is 18, in a country where the age of consent is 18.
One of the funniest updates that's come out is Gates was like desperately trying to block the release of the committee report, and he failed. And it's come out that that's part of the reason why he worked so hard to oust Kevin McCarthy. Like, you think about how many fucking Republican House leaders have just how many they've gone through recently. It's shocking. And the way that they've allowed the like insane section, like their side is insane. The right wing, bloc.
Yeah, like the Lauren Boeberts, the Matt Gates.
Yes.
There's one
MTG.
other lady. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like like how we have like the Squad. It's like the Legion of Doom version of the Squad.
The Legion of Dumb. But yeah, and I was going through some of the details, and it's crazy how much political capital was burned by this guy just trying to cover his own ass. And it makes me think of when that guy in the wheelchair, what was his name?
Madison Cawthorn.
Yes, I was gonna say it's like Cawthorn or something. Yeah, Madison Cawthorn. He said he was invited to like some gay orgy or something with drugs, and I feel like that was Matt Gates that invited him to that.
I don't think it was a gay orgy, but he did say he was invited to like coke and sex parties.
Close enough.
Yeah, it's so funny that there was a picture of Madison Cawthorn in bed with his cousin.
Oh, dude, it's not just a picture; it's like a video of them having. They're like humping each other or something. It's strange.
Where's Madison from? It's got to be from a southern state. Cousin humping.
I don't know. It's
I've
pretty
been
interesting.
All over the American South, and let me tell you, it is a shithole. It's a beautiful shithole. It's a nice place if you enjoy like the woods, and if you enjoy like just seeing green. Like, my favorite color is green, so
You like a little countrified living.
yeah. And I will say this, the food is so much fucking better down here. Like, it's not even close.
Boy. Get you some barbecue.
Okay, Boudreaux. Simmer down. My name is Boudreaux Hebert.
Going on down, don't cry that boy.
Stay out. What you doing in my swamp?
All right. We have an article here. We're not going to read all of it, but we're going to read.
Jesus, fucking go back up to that picture of me. He has a Band-Aid on his face. He has to hold another man's arm.
What is going on with his face?
Yo, that guy
What's wrong with his face?
Look at the guy next to him that has to hold his hand. He's not even holding his hand.
Dude, Mitch McConnell's hand looks like a fucking mummy's hand, like reaching out from a crypt.
It's not even that. Like, look at his other hand, the bandaged one.
What the fuck?
This guy looks like he got his ass kicked.
He looks like those pics. He looks like Jay Leno in those pics that came out recently where motherfucker looks like he got his ass beat for not paying like a gambling debt.
You know what Mitch McConnell looks like? He looks like a pawpaw that should just be like sitting on a porch, sitting in a rocking chair, drinking like sweet tea.
He's got He's got that 1,000-year stare. He's just staring off into the distance.
Yeah. He should be like listening to his grandson play the banjo, like in Deliverance or some shit.
Needs to be listening to some old Hank Williams records on the gramophone.
Yeah, but like, what the fuck are you doing in a suit in like the halls of Congress?
Seriously,
this is embarrassing.
So the title of this article is "Our Dying Leaders."
This is fitting.
Both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi suffered falls this week. This is actually to the day from a month ago, but it's still as relevant as ever. Both Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi suffered falls this week, the latest reminder of the gerontocracy we live under. 82-year-old Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell skipped work on Thursday, missing several votes in order to recover from a fall he suffered on Tuesday. Then, late last night, which would have been December 13th, 2024. 84-year-old Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi sustained her own fall during an official trip to Luxembourg. This resulted in the U.S. military rushing Pelosi via medevac to a U.S. Army base in Germany, where she was given a hip replacement on the morning of December 14th.
I think I read somewhere that 34% of our senators are over 70 years old.
There's actually a graph here.
Yeah.
So it ends at 2020, and it peaks at about 24% of Congress over the age of 70.
Oh, okay, that's
5 years ago.
That's 5 years ago. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it ends. Well, it ends in the numbers here end in 2020 on this graph. You see it here?
Yeah. So, do you think it's more now? Do you think it jumped up like?
Dude, it went from 5% in 1980 to almost 25% in the last 40 years. And if you look back over like the last couple hundred years since 1800 or so, since they have numbers for it, they used to have way younger leaders and people in, the House and whatnot. And now it's these fucking old fucks.
Yeah, this is just proof that we do not have fair democratic elections in our country.
No.
Because if that was the case, then our Congress wouldn't have like a 30% approval rating. Actually, I think it's 12%.
It's always very low, yeah.
Yeah, it's like 30% of the bills that get passed. The average person in the United States is like, yeah, I approve of that. Fucking crazy. But yeah, there was another senator from California. I think
Feinstein?
Was it Feinstein? Yeah. She was literally being puppeted by her office.
Yeah, her staffers were kind of doing a weekend at Bernie's type thing with her.
Right, yeah, and you could see her like pictures of her like in a wheelchair. She doesn't know where she is. She's got like the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, we have another article that we're going to get to in a moment. We're going to kind of segue into it. This is still going on with other people in the House, all across the political landscape in America. There are old fucks who are dying, who are trying to wrestle control of what's going on in the country away from people who are actually, out there living their lives, instead of people who have one foot in the grave. And I'm sorry, like, I'm not here to fucking try and take away your healthcare and, the medication or machines that are keeping you alive, but I don't think if you're, dying of cancer and it's like the fourth time you've had cancer and you're celebrating, like your 60th or 70th birthday or whatever, like you shouldn't be a leader just because of seniority. And we're not going to necessarily get into it, but a slight quick segue. Did you see the thing about this person who got picked for a House Oversight Committee position over AOC, and he's like, it's my time. It's my I never got picked for a position like this, so it's my time and it's my position, and goddamn it, I'm gonna do a good job. And it's that's not a good reason.
It's a 70-year-old man with esophageal cancer.
Yes, he has cancer. Yeah. It's like, what the fuck?
You have a popular representative in Congress. You have a very you have a shining star in your party, and you just ignore her. Yeah. Just because it's like, oh well, she's a little too radical, and she hasn't put in her time, and it just doesn't make any sense, because the Republican Party knows that a majority of their constituents, or not constituents, but their colleagues, are losers. They're there because they have an R in front of their name, and because they had money, and they were willing to play ball with whoever gave them that money. They
have no public capital like AOC has. Yeah. So they can just make these people fall in line. And they can even make AOC fall in line. I have a lot of problems with AOC, but she, as much as she sometimes talks the talk, she does not follow through a lot of the time and walk the walk. But still, having somebody who talks the talk instead of having somebody who does nothing and also actively campaigns against it, it's like, I don't know if you necessarily want to play a lesser of two evils game with that, but she's essentially the best that you got. Not the best in the House per se, but she was a better pick for that oversight committee position. I'll just say that.
Yeah, and also there is at least one 80-year-old senator that's still killing it.
There's a couple, but they're kind of an exception to the rule. There's Bernie, there's a few other people.
Yeah, Mr. Bernard Sanders he's still with it.
Mr. Bernard. In November, Pelosi was reelected to her 20th Jesus Christ, 20th term in Congress. What the fuck, dude? Holy shit.
Maybe
Okay.
maybe that should be the Republican demand that they make to give aid to California to stop to give aid for the wildfires. Maybe they just say like, yeah, Pelosi has to step down. I don't think that they should have to attach strings to aid, but if they just did that this one time, I'd accept it.
I know you're probably like at least half joking, but yeah, that's another thing too. It's crazy how they're trying to condition aid for natural disaster relief. Like it's fucking mental.
Oh yeah, no strings attached for Florida whenever a hurricane hits them.
Oh yeah. Well, that's because they're on their side. But yeah,
Florida's just doing everything right.
Yeah, coincidentally. In November, Pelosi was reelected to her 20th term in Congress. McConnell, even after his bizarre freezing episodes, has said that he intends to serve out the rest of his term, which ends in 2027. Oh my fucking god. Fuck me.
I hate to bring it back to TikTok, but whenever McConnell started having these freezing episodes, there was this creator on TikTok who did a perfect impression of McConnell, where he was like, it would basically be saying like, yeah, whenever he goes into these episodes, he's just deep into thought, saying things like, rubbing alcohol tastes delicious. Baby back ribs are only good if they're made from real babies. Instead of getting circumcised, I grafted more foreskin on my dick.
McConnell has served in the Senate since 1985, with his career in government stretching back to the Gerald Ford administration. Fucking hell.
It's been 40... It's been 40 fucking years.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Usually if you work for 40... If you work for 40 years, you should be able to retire. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like let's think about this for a second. Let's say you start working a job when you're 18, which is wild.
Or 25. You start working like a real job at 25. You start a career at 25, which seems like a pretty good age for today. You would be 65. You would be so close to the age of retirement.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the fuck? It makes no sense.
But instead he started at like 40 something, and now he's like 80 something.
Yeah. Trust me, I have 80-something-year-old grandparents, and most of what they talk about these days is, it is pretty grim, but, they don't give a fuck at this point. They're just like,
dude,
yeah, I'm going to die any day now, and you're like, Jesus Christ, Grandma.
I remember, my grandma passed away when I was, I think I was in 2020. Yeah, 2020, she passed away. And I remember she lived to be about 86. And she told me like years before, she was like, I'm just waiting for Jesus to come get me. I hope he didn't forget about me. And it was that when she said that, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And my grandma, like, she would just watch like the Hallmark Network.
Oh man.
And she would read like all of these books from all of these politicians, like let's say like Mitch McConnell wrote a book, like Ted Cruz wrote a book. I think she actually did have a Ted Cruz book.
Fucking hell.
It's fucking crazy.
Funniest part is that it's not even them writing it. They just get somebody else to ghostwrite it.
Yeah.
If it feels like Congress is back to the article here. If it feels like Congress is out of touch, it probably doesn't help that some of its most prominent leaders like Pelosi and McConnell were born before the widespread availability of the ballpoint pen.
Whoa.
That these two leaders are members of opposing parties shows how bipartisan America's gerontocracy, which means rule by the elderly, problem is. The problem is also a systemic one stretching far beyond just these two officials, as the following chart demonstrates. We have the chart here that we were referencing earlier. And it's like from the 1800s all the way through to about 1909 or so, 1910. It doesn't break above 5% of Congress being over the age of 80. So 95% of Congress before about 1910 was under the age of 70. Then from between 1925 to 1980, it goes up a bit, but never goes above around 10 or 11%. And then between 1980 and 2001, something like that, it starts massively climbing from 5% to 10%, Then between 2002 and 2020, it goes from 10% to almost 25. It's mental.
I think the
go ahead.
70s was when they decided that money in politics wasn't bribery. So as soon as the 80s hits, then you see that number just go up, because
it was between the 70s and the 90s, and then it got completely hollowed out, and then just got worse and worse after that. But yeah, you're on the right path. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only reason that these people are able to maintain their power is because they have the money to be able to run campaigns, which they spend a third of their time doing while employed. They spend a third of their time campaigning and raising money, not doing their job, raising money.
Yeah, it's just like it's bleak. There's a lot of words you could use to describe it, but it's just bleak. Let's wrap this up here with this article. Congress is literally dying to stay in office. In August, New Jersey Congressman Bill Pascrell Jr. died in office at the spry age of 87.
Spry.
Unlike your grandpa, elected officials and CEOs are powerful people with whom we don't have personal relationships. It's time the media started covering them that way.
Yeah, I got a question for you. Would you want your grandpa to be an elected official? Just ask yourself that.
No.
Yeah, because your grandpa thinks some crazy ass shit and he's out of touch.
Dude, I found out some shit about so one of my grandparents, who's technically like a step relative, not related by blood. I found out some stuff recently that I'm just not going to repeat. It's nothing that's like that bad. It's a belief that they have that I would personally say probably precludes them.
As long as it's not sure 12 is cool with me.
No, it's nothing like that.
Okay. As long as it's not that bad.
It's something that, let's just say, precludes them from being able to hold office just because it, makes them like way too biased. We'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Well, it can't be any more biased than what is his name? Pete Hegstrom?
It's Pete Eggspit, yeah. It's discriminatory. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah. But that guy who's supposed to be like the defense secretary basically said, yeah, women shouldn't be in the military.
Yeah, he's a fucking complete moron. And he's also like outright evil.
Yeah.
I wish we had enough time tonight to get into that, but we're just going to have to leave it at that for now. But we do have a follow-up article here. We were mentioning some of the details about this a moment ago, talking about the last article. I just want to quickly read some of this because it's not a very long article that we have here. Kay Granger, a Texas lawmaker, is residing in an assisted living facility, according to a Dallas publication. Her situation attracted attention after an article was published in the Dallas Express titled, "Where is Congresswoman Kay Granger?" in which it was reported that Granger had been residing in a local memory care and assisted living home for some time after having been found wandering lost and confused in her former cultural district neighborhood. The publication noted she had not voted on the House floor since July. A statement from Granger's office specified that she, quote, is not in memory care, but did not deny other elements of the Dallas Express article. Brandon Granger, her son, told the Dallas Morning News, "There's nothing wrong with someone wanting to live in a community with other folks their age." There's a statement from her that's basically like trying to justify this, but I'm not going to read it because fuck them. It says others saw a problem, blah, 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 no shit. There's a quote here from Ro Khanna, California Democrat. He wrote on Twitter, "Kay Granger's long absence reveals the problem with a Congress that rewards seniority and relationships more than merit and ideas. We have a gerontocracy." No shit. He also says, "We need term limits." I agree with that. Yeah, this is just fucking insane. There's another interesting detail here that gives more numbers and facts. Granger is one of 23 members of Congress who are at least 80 years old, a group that is led by Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa, who is 91.
That's very, very disappointing. What gets me is if you don't show up to work, what happens?
You get fucking fired.
Yeah, and these congressmen can just not show up to vote on bills.
I know. It's insane,
for months. Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like, you're not working, and you're still getting paid.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense because, for jobs that are essentially just menial bullshit, you don't fucking show up, you get fired instantly, which on some level I think people would agree, like, makes sense, I guess. Like, you're not going to show up
Well,
to a job, you're not going to get fucking paid, and you're not going to do the job because you can't be relied on to show up. But you do it in a position which is, like, most people would again agree is probably one of the most important positions out there, deciding the legislation and taking part in shaping the future of the country, the infrastructure that everyone uses, so on and so on. A job that's that important, a job that means a lot. You can just not show up to it and you just still get paid. Like you're saying, it's fucking mind blowing. It doesn't make any sense. And any attempt to justify it is just nonsense.
Yeah, let's say you work at Walmart, for instance, or somewhere like that, some supermarket, and you don't show up for like 2 days. You're fired. You're gone because they expect you. If you don't come in that day, you're supposed to call and say why you're not coming in. And you might get some sick leave, but you're not getting paid for that sick leave.
Yeah.
You just have an excuse for why you're not coming into work.
You're lucky if you get leniency on like if you don't show up for work and you don't call them beforehand to like call in sick or whatever. You're lucky if they give you some leniency. And a lot of places in America, it's at will employment, I think.
Yeah, where they can just fire you for any reason.
Yeah, like with that kind of setup, you can just get fired if they're like, no, called, no showed, fuck you. But with something this important, you can just not. You can just be in a fucking home for dementia.
I think
they're just like, nah.
I think at will employment was a part of the right to work bill, right? Something like that.
Right to work for less.
Yeah. Which is funny. I think the right to work basically like said, you can't join a union, and also we can just fire you for whatever.
Right to fuck off and go fuck yourself.
Yeah. It's like naming your bill like, free money bill, but you have to pay them.
Yeah, it's just nonsense.
All right. Bye, Mike.
We gotta talk about this because it's fucking insane. The show is Evil Planet, and this fits the bill. We gotta talk about this. So, Biden commutes sentence for Kids for Cash judge. Former Luzerne County, I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. Luzerne County, however you pronounce that, Judge Michael T. Conahan, who gained notoriety for wrongfully imprisoning juveniles in the Kids for Cash scandal, is one of nearly 1,500 inmates whose sentences President Joe Biden commuted Thursday as his term in office comes to a close. Conahan, 72, was convicted along with former Judge Mark A. Goddamn, they're trying to throw me for a curveball with all these names tonight. Civarella Jr., 74, of funneling juvenile defendants to 2 private for-profit detention centers in exchange for $2.1 million in kickbacks. Literally, like, fucking sending kids to jail intentionally just to get fucking money.
Dude,
like,
you know that these are poor, probably black kids.
Oh yeah,
getting picked on, right? Majority of them are.
Let's see if they mention it in the article, but I believe you're correct. So this judge pled guilty to racketeering and conspiracy charges and was sentenced in 2011 to 17 and a half years in prison. However, he petitioned the courts for a compassionate release during the COVID-19 pandemic, writing that he was in, quote, grave danger of not only contracting the virus, but of dying from the virus. Yeah, what a loss that would have been for the world at large. He was released to home confinement in Florida under federal supervision in June 2020. A clemency recipient list the White House issued Thursday shows Conahan's case is one of about 1,500 commutations the outgoing president granted. In a prepared statement, Biden said the commutations were granted because the defendants would receive lower sentences if charged under today's laws, policies, and practices. Oh, that's good to know. It's good to know that this judge would have been sentenced to less than 17 years in prison in today's climate for this absolute insane corruption scandal where he fucking ruined the lives of how many fucking kids again? A lot of people. Okay. It doesn't say here, but it's a lot of people, yeah.
These probably doesn't have the exact number.
Let's see. These commutation recipients who were placed on home confinement during the COVID pandemic have successfully reintegrated into their families and communities and have shown that they deserve a second chance. I mean, with this person, like, let's be real here. Like, they're old as fuck at this point. But I think it would have been appropriate to just let them die in prison. I think that would have been probably the best course of action here, but whatever. Let's see. In a separate statement, White House officials said Biden is granting clemency to nonviolent offenders who were sentenced under outdated laws, policies, and practices. Well, I don't know. I'll just say this. I don't even want to read the rest of this article. Maybe look for some more details on this in a second, like details of the actual case. But I'll just say this. Somebody who was, let's just say, convicted of a violent crime where they robbed somebody at gunpoint but didn't actually, like, assault them. Like, let's just say, because that's still considered, like, a violent crime. Let's say even if they fucking pistol whipped this person, they probably did less effective harm overall than this guy who sent a bunch of fucking juveniles to prison intentionally just so he could receive kickbacks. I think this judge is actually the worst individual in that situation. Like, because they essentially destroyed the lives of how many fucking kids who, in turn, like, that shit probably affected the lives of untold numbers of people around them.
If I had to guess, probably hundreds.
At least hundreds or thousands of people just around these. So, yeah, fuck this judge. Fuck this piece of shit judge. Let me see if I can get some more information on this from the article.
They said they paid him like $2.1 million, something like that.
Oh, so here's one person. Yes, 2.1 million in kickbacks. So Sandy Fonzo, who famously confronted one of the judges outside federal court over the suicide after her son after he was placed in juvenile detention, called the development deeply painful. She said, "I am shocked and I am hurt. This judge's actions destroyed families, including mine, and my son's death is a tragic reminder of the consequences of his abuse of power. This pardon feels like an injustice for all of us who still suffer. Right now, I am processing and doing the best I can do to cope with the pain that this has brought back."
I'm surprised there's not a class action lawsuit. There might have been.
So there's actually some more information here. The judges were convicted of accepting millions in kickbacks in exchange for populating for-profit juvenile prisons with offenders whose sentences were often disproportionate to their crimes. The scheme involved a former Drums attorney, Robert Powell, paying over $750,000 to the judges, who in turn funneled juvenile defendants to two private and for-profit detention centers that Powell partly owned. Powell ended up serving an 18-month prison sentence after pleading guilty to felony counts of failing to report a felony and being an accessory to a conspiracy. Wealthy real estate developer Robert K. Maricil, who paid $2.1 million to the judges, was charged with failing to disclose to investigators in a grand jury that he knew the judges were defrauding the government by failing to report the money on their taxes. Got him with the fucking taxes. In 2015, Powell reached a settlement with the juvenile defendants imprisoned in the case, so yeah, there was a class action suit, agreeing to an initial $4.75 million payment and another payment of up to $2.75 million. Civariella, whatever, fuck him, I don't give a shit about pronouncing his name correctly because he's a piece of shit, is serving a 28-year prison sentence at Federal Correctional Institution Ashland in Kentucky on honest services mail fraud charges. He is scheduled to be released June of 2034.
Let me do a quick Google search and see what else you can get 30 years for. And let's see if he's comparable to these people. Because he committed an act of violence, an act of systemic violence that I would say is on par with beating someone near death.
As far as I'm concerned, he's almost pretty... I don't know if I'd say directly because he didn't, like, shoot him.
Okay, hold on.
He's essentially directly responsible for that kid's suicide.
Okay, you're not going to believe this one, but I'm looking at thelawpages.com, and genocide, crimes against humanity, war crimes, and related offenses other than one involving murder, that can get you 30 years.
Participating in a genocide.
Yeah, but it's where you don't actually murder anyone, though. Like, you didn't kill anyone.
I was just following orders.
Yeah, basically. Looking for more, but the closest thing I can find is
how is that not life in prison?
14 years you can get for burglary, for domestic burglary. You can get 14 years for failing to... Wait, no, not that. Aggravated vehicle taking. So, like if you rob someone of their car, like in GTA.
I was about to say, yeah, if you pull a Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah. Another 14 years. 14 is a very, very common number here. Inciting a child family member to engage in sexual activity over.
What?
And the offender is over 18.
How many years?
It's 14 for that. Inciting. Yeah, and this was the sexual offense.
Okay, wait, hold up. That needs to be like 50 or life in prison. I'm sorry.
Something like that.
That needs to be life in prison.
You can
do
get
that. You do that shit, you're not getting let out.
You can get life in jail for aggravated burglary. You can get 14 years for burglary with intent to inflict GBH. I don't know what GBH stands for.
Probably like great bodily harm or something like that. Grievous bodily harm.
That sounds fair. On a person, or so unlawful damage to a building or anything in it dwelling. Okay.
The disparity with some of these is pretty wild.
Yeah. You can get 7 years for being a pimp. Man living on earnings of prostitution. You can get 7 years for living on earnings of male prostitution.
Wait, they have separate laws?
Yeah.
What?
You can get 2 years.
Why do they have separate laws?
You can get 2 years for inciting girl under 16 to have incestuous sexual intercourse.
Is the sentencing
inciting?
Is the sentencing different if it's a boy? Like, what the? Why is it all gendered?
I don't know.
So fucking weird. I'm assuming that it's gendered because originally they had a law that only considered women as victims, and they had to introduce a new one that considered men, I guess. I'm assuming that's probably what it is.
Yeah. Okay. How about this? I'm gonna look for random life ones. Sexual
I'll be
assault.
honest, we just don't have enough time to continue.
Okay. Here's the last one. Casual sexual activity without penetration is life in jail.
Wait, what? Like, I don't understand.
It's like rape without penetration. Sexual assault is life in prison. It says from the Sexual Offenses Act of 2003.
Does it say like up to like life in prison?
Yeah, it says maximum penalty.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can get maximal penalty for aggravated burglary. Like I think that was 30 years or life in prison.
Yeah.
And I still think that that's not as bad as what this guy did.
I will say that like some of this stuff definitely makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we talked about before, definitely some disparity. But I mean, like that kind of makes sense. Like if it's like a fucking egregious like sexual assault or series of sexual assaults, if it's like really bad, I think at a certain point you should be like, yeah, maybe we should just lock this guy up for the rest of his life. But yeah, we gotta move on because we have some other stuff here to look at.
Infanticide is life.
Yeah, I mean, you killed a baby, so I can understand why. You're literally a baby killer, so there you go. So let's talk about what's going on with Russia and Ukraine a little bit. This shit has been going on for
3 years.
3 years now, yeah, and in a little under a month, it's going to be 3 years. So things are not going well for Russia. Interest rates are like close to or above 25% at this point.
Whoa.
Value of the Russian ruble has hit all-time lows. The military expenditures account for 1/3 of the Russian budget. Russia is struggling to fund a lot of national projects, even its own railways. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck, although, you can say that about a lot of countries right now. Things are not going well. An additional factoid here, update to a previous story, I guess you could say. There are apparently over 10,000, I don't know, maybe they're dead now, but there were at least at one point over 10,000 North Korean soldiers apparently fighting in the Kursk region of Russia.
That's so funny to me. Russia has to use DEI to fight their wars. I remember Chris was, and I'm sorry to mention him in this. We can cut this out.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, but Chris was arguing with some guy in like YouTube comments about. He was calling the guy like a Ukrainian bot, saying that you support Ukraine in this fight, loser.
What a fucking cope.
Yeah, and then he said that Ukraine was being run by a certain group of chosen people. Very
I'm surprised.
Comment.
Yeah, I'm surprised that YouTube has not just completely banned his ass so far, but they've put up with a lot of weirdos for a while.
He uses the algo speak, and plus he's irrelevant, so.
This is true. But yeah, we have a couple articles here. So apparently Russian grocery stores are locking up butter in glass cases as Russian inflation hits unbelievable rates and stealing food becomes the norm.
Hold on. You know, like how we use, we lock up like razors behind like, and we lock up like video games and computers behind these glass, containers or whatever shelves. Yeah. We put all of these like super expensive items behind glass, and we put tags on them and stuff that you have to have like a cashier take off. But you're putting butter in a glass cabinet that you have to have a lock and key for.
I know, right?
You know how easy it is to make butter? You just take like heavy cream and you put salt in it and you shake it really hard.
Yeah, but you have to start with heavy cream first.
Yeah, you're right.
So
Still.
I had an article here, but it just does not want to fucking pull it up. It's being a piece of shit. I don't know why. So there was an article elaborating on like the Russia locking up butter thing, but in a side note, one thing we have to mention, because this has caused us to not be able to look at this article, these fucking news sites are dog shit and will not allow you to like look at the article a lot of the time. And even when they do, if you have an ad blocker, it breaks the fucking site. So there's that. But we do have another article, still talking about the whole like Russia-Ukraine conflict. Russian ISP confirms Ukrainian hackers destroyed its network. Ukrainian hacktivists, part of the Ukrainian Cyber Alliance Group, announced on Tuesday they had breached Russian internet service provider Nodex's network and wiped hacked systems after stealing sensitive documents. Quote, the Russian internet provider Nodex in St. Petersburg was completely looted and wiped. Data exfiltrated while the empty equipment without backups was left to them, the Ukrainian hacktivists announced yesterday on Telegram. The hackers also shared screenshots of the Russian ISP's VMware, Veeam Backup, and Hewlett-Packard Enterprise virtual infrastructure they hacked during the breach. I'm assuming that you, because you kind of work in this field, probably have a lot to say about this, or have an interest in it at least.
I'm not like a database manager. I use databases, you know, like but like when it comes to actually like storing and maintaining data, the only thing that I know is that you can save like snapshots of states of your database, right? Something like that. And you didn't have backups of sensitive data. That sounds sounds like it doesn't sound right to me.
Apparently they do. They're saying like Nodex is saying they do have some backups. But what it appears like is that they are either lying or they're covering their ass, and the backups they have are not nearly recent enough or cohesive enough and like whole enough, you know? So there's some more information here. Nodex said, dear subscribers, last night an attack was carried out on our infrastructure. The network has been destroyed. We are restoring it from backups. There is no timeline or forecast at the moment. Our priority is to first restore telephony, and the call center. Internet monitoring organization NetBlocks also saw fixed line and mobile services connectivity collapsing on Nodex's network. Nodex's network internet operator yesterday at midnight following the ISP's confirmation it was dealing with a cyber attack. You see a graph here that is basically just like a 90-degree angle. It just goes from like around like 100 to 95% connectivity down to 0. Just completely flat lines.
Or like an 89-degree angle. You had some credit.
Yeah. You just killed it. So this is a little dense here with some of the stuff they're talking about. So we're not going to read the whole article, but we'll just skip to the end here. In October 2023, the Ukrainian hacktivists also hacked the Trigona, whatever ransomware gang's servers and wiped them clean after exfiltrating all data, including source code, database records, and cryptocurrency hot wallets. But yeah, there's some other information here basically saying like a lot of wins lately on the Ukrainian side, like seriously big wins have been stuff like this, just fucking crippling Russia. And unfortunately, this stuff is something that the civilians in Russia have to deal with, and they're not the ones making the decisions in the war. But it's mental the way that this has been devolving.
What I've learned from my past experience over the last few years doing like programming is data is everything, and if you don't have any data, then what the fuck are you even doing? So just erasing all of their data, it's fucked.
Yeah, like it's really one of the things that we'll just end on here is one thing that's really given me hope is seeing how resilient Ukraine and its people have been during this whole thing. Like
what
their
kind of
their ability to adapt and just fight back is insane.
What kind of data did they lose? I'm sorry to ask. You probably already mentioned it, but what kind of data did they lose?
It said pretty much fucking everything that they could get on their servers. They pretty much just stole it all and then wiped it.
Yeah, but what is the nature of who they attacked? Is what
it's
I
an
want to know.
internet service provider called Nodex.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, Russian internet service provider. One thing that I would implore people to check out too is the extremely successful aquatic drones that Ukraine has been using throughout this whole conflict. Some interesting little like mini documentaries on that kind of stuff, and also just drones in general. They've been kicking Russia's ass with basically like jerry-rigged drones that like you or I might buy.
Didn't they use a drone to bomb some buildings in St. Petersburg?
Yes, they've done some crazy stuff. They've like strapped an AK to a drone and use like a camera and a targeting system to just like fly a drone around with an AK strapped to it, just shooting Russians. It's fucking weird. Like we're living in the weirdest type of future possible. No cool jetpacks or flying cars or anything. I mean, those things kind of exist, but we don't really,
We just have flying death machines.
Yeah, we just have like flying C4 that just comes and blows your head off.
Who's that companion that you can find in Prim? Is it Prim? It's the town with the roller coaster in New Vegas. He's called like Ed or ED.
Yes.
Yeah, if you have like a high repair skill, you just have a flying drone with a laser gun.
Love that.
They can they can just snipe shit from like wherever. He's really good on stealth builds.
Well, I think we've come to the end of the stuff that we wanted to cover tonight. Just a bunch of fucking garbage on this garbage heap of a planet once again. Unfortunately, Tryptamine could not join us tonight. Gord, thanks again for coming on, and you have a good night, dude. I'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, take it easy.
All right, peace.